Hello, I'm Jeff Harold with the Lake County Art League, and I'm here talking to artist David Becker, who will be doing a demo for us, actually using watercolor and black paper, which is going to be an interesting experience. So, Dave, how about telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for inviting me and for your club to inviting me here. Yeah, we're going to be. I'm David Becker, David R. Becker. You have to kind of put R in there when you're going to my website or anything, because there are a couple artists that are named David Beckers. So I always like to put the R in there just so there's actually an artist in Chicago that paints some really weird stuff, and that I don't paint that. So if you go online, that's
I
the only reason
found
I
him.
use the R. I
I
use the R
found
a
him.
lot. You found him? Yeah, he
Yeah.
does paint some weird stuff, and so yeah, of
Yes.
course his name has to be David R. Becker, and he's in a fine gallery in Chicago. So you search for that, but that's not me. I don't do those. I'm mostly a
Okay.
watercolor.
If,
I'm sorry.
if I can if I can just point out real quick, you'll see it in the bottom of the screen here. You go to beckerart.net,
Yes.
okay, and that will get you there. The other artist is under .com or something like that. So,
Yeah, and
okay,
if you go to davidrbecker.com, you can also get to my same website. I usually use Becker Art only because of that, and because otherwise they'll forget the R and it's not me. But anyways, you can
okay,
get there by davidrbecker.com or beckerart.net. And I come from Chicago. I worked in downtown Chicago like for about 36 years as an illustrator, and so now I was about 6 years ago. They lost a bunch of clients and they laid me off, but I decided to go full time as a teacher then, which I did right out of school at American Academy of Art downtown Chicago. And my mentor was Irving Shapiro, watercolorist. And I also did all the other mediums. I did oils. I've done oh my gosh, all of them. Acrylics, but recently I've just been doing mostly the watercolor, and I was known for my watercolor and doing Chicago scenes. But then now recently I've been adding a lot of acrylics into that mix. And so, as you said, I will be doing a watercolor technique, but I will be using four acrylics to do my watercolors on
oh,
black paper. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be
good,
four different acrylic mediums that I act like I use in as watercolors. And so there's gonna be an ink, a fluid,
good.
a gouache, and a heavy-bodied acrylic that I'll be using like watercolor on a watercolor paper that happens to be black. And
Yeah,
so just something a little bit different to throw at a lot of my students. And
that's exactly the sort of thing we're looking for because it's a
that's
technique that our a lot of members may not have used or even be aware of, and that's what they're interested in. So,
That's good. And again, I could have done it in watercolor and with watercolor and gouache, like the regular traditional watercolors and gouache, but this is going to be using the acrylics just like you would use watercolor, identical to using watercolor. It just has a few different things that changes about it because when it dries, it dries solid and hard, and so you can't rub into it, which is actually a good thing sometimes for some of the students. And you can also start out with watercolor. I may even bring my set of watercolors to show that I can start with watercolor and then just finish it as an acrylic. And I'll do both ways. It's basically when I do my demonstrations, I usually almost have enough time to do two. I was an illustrator in Chicago for an agency, Food Coat and Belding, and I used to be a TV storyboard illustrator. So things had to get done fast. And so now that when I paint, and even the demonstrations, I may get it done like I do every Thursday. I do a demonstration, a paint along for all my students, and we do it in 1 hour. And so, and
oh,
that's not all 1 hour of just working. I'm talking a lot too, so I can finish a painting in about half an hour at times. And so, sometimes I'll even do two demonstrations, like for your, depending on how long the demonstration is. But I think this is 2 hours, is it?
oh no, it's actually going to be however long you want. We usually have
Okay.
like 45 minutes, and then we take a break, have a little munchies and what have you, and then come back and let the demonstrator finish off his technique. So,
Yeah, usually within
an
those
hour,
times,
or so of actually working there. So,
yeah, I can usually do like about painting and a half, but in that time, so I'll
well,
bring a
that's
bunch of
fine.
things. So, so I'm
That's
pretty
fine.
fast painter, and I pretty quickly, and I never do not finish the painting. I always finish the painting no matter what. I learned that through being in advertising, that the painting will be finished by the time I leave. No matter what time
Sounds
you give me. If you give me 1 hour, I do it in 1 hour. If you give me a half hour, I do it in a half hour. It's just what I learned from being in the business of advertising.
yeah, okay. What's his name? Bob Ross? Is that
Oh
his name?
yeah,
The painter on. He always did the
yes.
quick shows. Yes, and when we look at your website, I'm gonna maybe point out something here, uh, because you are also are selling your demos, your
Yeah.
artworks that you create during demonstrations. And what's funny, because Bob Ross was the same way. He would paint and he'd get through it and everything. What people don't know is he did that same painting. He may have done it 4 or 5 times beforehand, before he did the
Uh-huh.
show. And so now they've got all those pre-show paintings, and they're selling those. You
Oh
can buy
yeah,
one of
yeah.
those.
Yeah, I have my paintings I do because, like I said, I do every Thursday night. I do a free paint along that I also send out a newsletter every Tuesday to show what we're gonna be painting on Thursday, and then it's all like a little lesson. So last night we did one, and the one we did last night was a scene of a street scene with tons of people in it. Showed how to do lighting, and then we I posted then that next morning. Like this morning, I posted it, and sometimes it's for sale, sometimes it isn't until later on. Because I have another one that
Yeah.
I'm selling every day. I do a daily painting, and with pandemic on, it really helped my business. And so
Oh,
I brought
I
it
can
way
imagine.
down. They're very
Yeah.
low priced, but they're going back up in January. But until then, they're very
Yeah.
low priced. I have right now there's 800 paintings on there, so
Yes,
so
people.
there
So
are
you
quite a
have
few
your
of them.
choice. You have a
Yes,
very large selection, and I was
yes.
looking at some of them. They're excellent works.
Thanks.
So they're definitely worth the while to look at least, if not buy. So. Okay, well, all right. Since we were talking about that, can we visit your website here quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Oops, that picture. I had a problem because I can't find a way to control this, your
Hmm.
banner page. That picture right there, okay? That was the first thing I
Uh-huh.
saw when I went to your website. All right. And I don't know, do you know who Bill Mauldin is? Mauldin? World War
Mulder? No,
II
I don't think I've heard of
artist,
him.
Maudlin. Well, he was a 22-year-old when he went into the army, and I believe he was
Hmm.
actually in the service. And he was known for his Willie and Joe cartoons,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and they were all about the service people, the army guys over there, and what they were going through, and some of the just ironic situations like this one that you're seeing here.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so when I saw that, that just hit me. And
Uh-huh.
yours are definitely not comics, but that was the first thing I thought of, uh, because that's something I don't know if any other artist is doing something like that. Uh, do you want to talk about that for a minute? I'm going to go down here and I'm going to
Sure.
see if I can get one of these guys up here.
Yeah, that was it all started about right a year before pandemic hit. I had my dad was in the army, and if you went down a little bit farther, that's just my regular
Yeah,
watercolors.
yeah, yeah. I
Down to
realized I
the
hit the wrong one there. So okay,
so if you go to
okay,
there,
here we
it's
go.
my dad was in the army, and I was looking through some of the photographs of the family and stuff, and this one photograph came in, and my dad had, and I said, "Oh, Dad, I want to paint this," and so I said, "Let me just borrow this painting." And so I did the painting, and it ended up that I really liked it, and it was fun to do. And so I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna do a show. I'm gonna do an exhibition of you in the army." I just thought it was something neat to do. I liked doing those kind of paintings. And I went back to him and asked him for more paintings, and he said, "Well, I don't really have any more than that one painting, that one photo." And so I like, oh boy, well, this is not gonna, that's not, doesn't make for a good exhibition. It's just one photo. So I
No,
went on Facebook. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So I went on Facebook and I just asked the friends on Facebook. I said, "Hey, I want to do this exhibition and I want to honor all the servicemen and women, just armed forces. I wanted to just do some paintings. I didn't want to do portraits though, because I've seen other people who do portraits. Even that's this picture right there is my dad. That's the first picture right there. Never forget 8. That
Yeah.
was
Which one's your
that's
dad?
the start of the
Oh, this is the
that
start
started
of.
this whole thing.
Okay. Okay.
My dad's on the left, and so that
Okay.
was the picture I started with. And then I asked other people. I said, I don't have any other pictures. I want to do this exhibition and honor all those people in the armed forces. And so if you give me a photo, not a portrait, I don't want to do portraits. I just want to do like scenes that are of a servicemen or women that are in the whatever armed forces, and usually they're group shots or just in action, whatever, but just not portraits. I didn't, although I done a couple portraits, but not so much close up like that. It's like this one right here is of a lady in my class. That's her dad in France, and fighting in France, and it was the snow, and so I wanted images like that. And so
Yeah.
for them to let me use the images, I would then give them a print of the painting. I wouldn't give them the original because I want to do a big show for it, and I kind of wanted to travel around the country. And so it's then that next year the pandemic hit, and I had about right now I have about I think 55 of these paintings. And so I was going to have the show the year 2020, and the pandemic hit, of course, and then I just
Yeah.
said, oh, that's not going to work, and so I didn't want to. So I just put it off, and then the sexy year, following year, I put it off also because and actually that year too, my dad got sick, and he wouldn't have been able to come to the show, and so I waited until the following year. That's when the pandemic hit. Then I couldn't do it that year, and then the year after that, Mary White, I don't know if you know Mary White. She's an
Mm.
artist, a watercolorist also. And she did something very similar to this that she started. And it was not of servicemen like the photos I have. It was more of just um, service people, servicemen and women that were already out of the military, and they're just veterans. And so I
Yeah.
saw that show it was in Savannah, I think, and I just gave me ideas, and so I still want to have this show, but now I have a few more ideas that I want to do to that, but it's
Yeah.
a growing thing, I guess.
Have you gone to the veterans organizations and solicited photos from
Not
them
yet. Once I get all, and
actually?
also then another thing I want to do is too, I got to get a hold of all these people again because they gave me the images. I'm going to give them a print of it, and I also am going to give them the sketch that I do. A lot of people gave me paintings that I didn't do, but I did the sketch of them, so I'll just give them the sketch
Yeah.
of the like the value study type of thing because it just wouldn't have been a great photo I thought or for a great painting. So, but that's still in the works, and it's going to be. And I will start thinking of places that I saw that Mary White, where she went to, and I thought, oh, that's not bad. So she gave me ideas, though she did about the same time I started mine, and had no idea that she was doing something like this. And actually, she's one of my favorite artists too. So, but
Hmm.
I think I started a year before she did because it's like when she brought hers out, she must have done it like a year before too, or something like that. But
Yeah.
funny how we thought the same thing.
That's sort of yeah. That's sort of interesting because my father was in the Navy in World War II, and he never talked too much about. We never really asked him too much, which I regret not doing. But I don't remember seeing any pictures other than I have a picture of him in his, the formal service portrait where you're in your
Yeah,
uniform
yeah,
and, it's candid thing. And just that. Maybe
yeah.
I
Most
should,
people that I had asked, I just put out on Facebook, and it was amazing how much reply I got back. And
yeah,
a lot of them just had one or two photos, and they'd love to have a painting of it. But or I said I give them a print, and so they'll get a print that looks just identical to it, probably a little bit
hey,
smaller than the original painting because most people don't want a huge painting of it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
give me something to paint
But they're
during the
definitely,
pandemic too. It gave me
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
things to
yeah, the
paint.
prints are definitely worthwhile getting. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a way for people to afford the art. I mean, that whole concept of being able to afford art, actually, that goes back to the Impressionists uh, era when they started doing there's actually a collection of posters called Masters of the Posters of all the Impressionists were doing commercial posters, for like nightclubs and
Uh-huh.
things like that, and what they did is they sold a subscription to them. So you paid money, and however many people they had paid in, that's how many prints they would make, and they would send them out. You know,
Yeah.
so prints are really a nice way for people to enjoy some fine art, and not, you know, paying an extravagant price for it, or stuff that's
Yeah,
not
and then
available.
I could still have my show. I could still have the
Yeah,
show, and they could still have a a part of that image.
Yeah,
To them it doesn't. It's
definitely.
not. It's just the image. It's not about even that it's a painting,
Yeah.
but that they just have they don't need the original when it goes out in a show because they'll honor their relatives or whoever they were, husband, wife, whatever it was to them. I mean, I just thought it was a
Yeah.
nice thing to do. And then I went, usually it was a story connected to each photo, either or two. So I wanted to put that on a plaque that's going to be next to the painting
Ah, good
but that
idea.
still has to be all put into work. So it's
Yeah.
still a little bit of a project yet to be done.
You got a lot of work there.
Yeah.
Why,
Especially when there's
why are you
55 of
wasting your time talking to me? You should be out there doing this
them.
project. After you do the demo for us.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Actually,
uh,
I got a demo this Saturday in Oak Brook. So there's actually for the Illinois Watercolor Society. I'm doing a demonstration this
yeah.
Saturday at what time? I think it's 1 o'clock or something like that, or 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, it's in Oak Brook
Yeah.
Library.
Yeah. When you do your demos, what do you do? I mean, how much you need a lot of room or what?
No, no. The nice thing about watercolor is that I used to do it on the train. I used to go
Yeah.
into. I live up in near Fox Lake, Grace Lake area, and the Channel Lakes area, and so I just took the train. I took the train right downtown to work and stuff. But I used to paint on the train, and I even had
Yeah.
there's a YouTube video of me
Yeah.
painting on a train that like at the time CLTV news took of me painting on the train when back in the days when gas was really expensive, like it is now again.
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
so there
Yeah.
I have a little video of that. But it's really easy. It's very
Yeah.
simple, and with all the products they have nowadays, it's just so simple to paint anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go back to your website for a second because there's another thing that really struck me about your work. And uh, let's get this guy up here. And I maybe I just miss it, but I have not remember. I do not remember seeing this incredible job of the wet pavement and the reflections on it. Is
Hmm.
that a special technique that you do? I mean, I see this in a number of your works here, wherever you have like wet pavement or something. Is that the
Yeah, I was kind of known for the Chicago scenes because I worked downtown, and that's actually Lowry's Steakhouse, which no longer is open. But I used to work right behind that Lowry's Steakhouse, right on Michigan Avenue in Erie.
yeah.
And used to walk to the train station everywhere across town. And I loved when it rained because I loved rain scenes. I love wet
Oh,
pavement and the
yeah.
lights into the street and the umbrellas. And so I used to love it when it rained and I walk because I get thousands of reference materials and stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I did a night photography class one time, a city at night type photography class one year, and we went over to Libertyville, and it was raining, and it was just
Uh-huh.
more of a light drizzle, and everyone said, are we gonna cancel? No, man, you got some good. I got some really nice pictures. One of them is one of my better selling ones, if I can even say that, really. But yeah, the rain and the wetness of the concrete, especially this time of year, as you're getting towards like Christmas and you start getting lights on there, or in autumn when you got the colors in the trees,
Uh-huh.
you know. But again, you have this one. I recognize the lions there. Again, you got that wet pavement down, and I'm really, really, really impressed with it.
And that was all. I haven't done as many scenes like that since I've been doing all the military work, and then also I've been doing a lot more acrylic type of things, and I've been working a lot with the paper company, Leaves and Papers, that makes the black watercolor paper.
Hmm.
So I've been doing a lot of black paper stuff, and I can show you that in
Yeah,
a little bit as soon as
this this
because it's
is
just working with them with their white paper, and then they all of a sudden decided to do a black paper, and I've been helping them out all along the way while they're inventing this stuff and making this
yeah,
stuff. So I've just been working a lot on the watercolor paper and kind of promoting it for them. And also I'm with Holbein also, the paints, Holbein paints, which is high quality paints. And so I just, those two products together, I've been doing a lot of gouache, traditional
yeah,
and acrylic gouache. And it really people love them just with the
yeah.
black paper. And like I said, it's the same. effect as I do with my watercolor regular on white, but it's just something a little bit different. And people are wondering like, well, how the heck do you do a transparent watercolor? Well, you got to use white. You got to use white with your watercolor. Otherwise, you're not going to get any, color into it. Well, you will get color into it,
Is
but it's going to be dark. And so to
is
lighten up
that
the color, you have a
is
white.
that part of how you do this the wet pavement? Is that
No, the
one of
wet pavement, but that was just my thing. I call everything I do, my newsletters, I'll call it float your pigment. So
yeah
basically, you're floating pigment into a puddle of water, and
ah
you can learn how to control it. You learn how to control your watercolor or acrylic. Doesn't matter. You can even do it with oils. I've done it with oils too. The aqua oils, I've done a little bit of that because Legion Papers just came out with a oil paper, and so I've
yeah
done it on that too.
yeah okay. Well, we're talking about the again, this is one of the pictures that I got from your website there.
Uh huh.
And this is an example of a watercolor. I think it's just watercolor on black paper, black watercolor paper.
This
And
one actually is not black white. This one is actually a dark color, but I used stencils to get the background
ah,
that pull out. So I made the background really dark. But if you put me back on my camera, I can show you some of the works that I did on black paper. I've got a bunch of them.
uh, we can do that.
So let me just go to my. These are some of the things I've done on black paper. And let me just pull this one over here a little bit.
Give you some more
There you
space
go.
here.
And so this one right here, let me get my little pointer here. Well then, okay, so this one right here,
Ah,
this one is acrylic. This is acrylic I did in a class. And these were all either class examples or demonstrating at a certain place and stuff. So they're not my studio paintings, they're pretty much what I do in my demonstrations. So this one was demonstrated in Florida. And this one right here was acrylics. This was at the Villages Art Center. And so it was all acrylic. And there was even some metallic acrylics in this one. Used like watercolor though. And then if you go over to this one right here, this one was actually painted on the spot outside at a nocturnal scene for the Grand Marais plein air fest they had. And so I actually painted that outside on black with white with regular watercolor. This is just regular watercolor. This one down here is on black, and this one was done with acrylics. With again acrylics, but sometimes I use fluid and ink acrylics, so it acts just like watercolor, and it feels like basically you're using watercolor, but it is acrylic, and so it's a little bit more dense and it's opaque,
yeah.
and so I can get that. This one over
Feels
here is also
feels a little
black
bit like
paper.
the French Impressionists what they used to do, like the Degas used to do, the ballet dancers.
Yeah, yeah, I've done
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
ballet dances for some reason
it's
on dark because it's usually you have to do a dark scene. You don't
yeah,
think you don't want to really do a bright scene because it defeats the purpose of using the black paper basically
yeah,
because then you just have to put all the white back into the paper. So you might as well do a scene that's bright on white paper and a scene that's dark on black paper. It just makes sense because then
yeah.
half the painting is done if it's done on dark. And this one in the corner here was done at the Jerry's Artorama. They have always a big thing in the summer. They have a big expo. I forgot what it's called, but it's a big expo, and I was again demonstrating to all the people in the expo about working on what this is watercolor actually, watercolor on black paper. And I actually used an airbrush on this one. You see these little lights right here?
Oh yeah,
Um, that was with an airbrush. I just put white light fluid. I think no ink acrylic, white ink acrylic instead of the watercolor, which I could also use that. Just water down the watercolor, put it in an airbrush, and just spray and it's an airbrush that's doesn't it's a portable airbrush. It's basically
yeah.
one little nozzle and a little handle you hold the compressor. And I'll be bringing that
Nice.
to the demonstration too to show you
Oh,
guys how you
good.
do that.
Yeah,
And
I'll be anxious to see that.
and then if you look
Okay.
at this work I have here, this is also some of it's on black paper and some of it's on Yupo because I may do two demonstrations for you guys at the time. And so what I'll do is I'll do one on black and one on Yupo. And if you look
Okay.
at this, and over here I have my pointer. So this one right here is done in Yupo. This flower one, that's on Yupo paper with acrylics. and starting it like a watercolor, then finishing like an acrylic. This one's totally acrylic on canvas. This one is on a board that I prepared. This is watercolor on a board I prepared with a gesso ground, an absorbent gesso ground. So that one right here was done on the spot in Grand Marais. That was just a 90-minute painting. This was a competition called the Fast Paint. That's this
Uh,
middle one right here. And then this one is colored pencil on black. So
uh,
colored pencil, just regular colored pencil on a cold press. So there's a little bit of texture in this one with the turtle here.
yeah.
And that's again on black paper. This one in the left over here is acrylic on black paper, starting like watercolor, but then finishing like an acrylic. And that's supposed to be Chicago downtown somewhere. And this one over here again was watercolor on a gessoed panel, and to make it look like an oil. And if you look really close on this, it kind of looks like an oil painting, but it's watercolor basically. And I
Yeah.
applied the gesso thick so that it absorbs, and it still kind of looks like a kind of like an acrylic. And now what I do is I wax everything. I don't use glass anymore, so I just put wax on it. I wax them,
Oh,
and I'll be showing that too when
okay.
I'll bring that too also to the demonstration to show you guys how to do that on black paper, or on Yupo, or on this other paper here, this board.
Okay.
This was a demonstration I had done. This one right here was a scene, and I had done the same thing. Like it was a Zoom one, and I totally forgot about it, and so I was about a half hour late to doing this. But luckily, I got these two. They were already drawn up. I was coming back from another workshop, and this was a scene on black paper, and it only took about half an hour to do because it's just very fast and simple to work on black paper. Because most of the stuff, if it's dark, is very simple to, it's already dark, and so all you're doing is
Yeah.
throwing on the light switch and putting all these lights in here. You're all done.
Okay.
And this one is just on regular white paper, just a watercolor. So there's these different type of things that I'll be showing you and doing at the demonstration. Just like to show you everything about all the papers because they have Yupo, they have Stonehenge white, and they also have Stonehenge black watercolor paper. And so
Yeah.
I can show you a little bit of everything. And
Good.
I'll even, because I'll be back in time, I think I'll even see if they can give some samples out. I can talk to the companies and I'll bring some samples for everybody.
Okay. Sounds like a deal. All right. Let's go back to talking here then.
So I wanted
Thank
to
you.
show you one thing too, is that these are
Okay.
the two papers I'll be working on. We've got the Stonehenge Aqua. This is the hot press black paper. They make hot press and they make cold press, but it's basically black paper. It's black
Yeah.
watercolor paper. It comes in pads like this, or just sheets of. You can buy it by sheet, or you can buy it in a pad or a block. They don't do the blocks. I think in black they just do the pads. So it's only glued on one side, where a pad is then glued on all four sides. And then this is the Yupo. And Yupo is a plastic paper, and I think it works great with some watercolor. I don't like watercolor as much as on it than I do acrylics, but it's still you get some people they either hate it or like it. There's like no in between. Either you hate Yupo or you totally dislike it. But I'll be probably working a little bit on that and showing people what they can do on that. And here are the four acrylics I'll be using. Like watercolors, I'll be using. This is a we call it a fluid. This is a fluid acrylic, and this will be an ink acrylic. And so the ink
Yeah. I'm,
acrylic is basically what it is. Very watery, very watery. And so yeah, and then there's the heavy bodied, which is the only thing that doesn't act like watercolor because it's heavy bodied. But the gouache acts like trans or opaque watercolor, and but it's acrylic instead of being your traditional gouache like watercolor. And people are loving this because now they can use the gouache like oils. And I just went on a workshop myself, and I just saw them actually use that, and it's really nice. I really enjoy using this stuff too. So I'll be showing all
yeah.
three,
Let
four
me.
of those things.
Yeah.
I'll be showing you all four of
Sorry,
those
I
things.
had you. I had you cut off there.
Oh, that's
You,
okay.
I
They
was
didn't need
seeing
to see
half
me.
of you, and yeah, yeah.
You
Because
don't need to see
I
me.
have the format for my format on my main screen here. So
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
So
so that's just
okay.
those are the things we're using. for the demonstration. And I will also bring my watercolors, but I can start with my watercolors. And the watercolors, of course, are Holbein watercolors. And you can see right here, this is my palette, my beautifully lovely palette. and
Hey, that looks
I
like a
don't
work
ever
of
wash
art
my
by
palette
itself.
because
You
I
can,
don't wash my palette because all these colors are rejuvenates instantly. That's one thing about Holbein watercolors is that you don't never have to worry about squeezing the whole tube into your palette because they don't ever dry to a hard rock. They always
oh,
stay rubbery and they stay pliable at all times. So you just put a little bit of water and they rejuvenate instantly. There's no need
huh,
to like just put a little bit out. You can put the whole tube in there; it will never dry out to a hard clump,
wow,
hard little rock. And that's because they don't use oxgall. A lot of the paint companies use oxgall, and that hardens it, hardens the paint to like you can't really reconstitute it as well. You can some of them, but just not as well as the Holbeins because the Holbeins you don't have to worry about any of that. You just put a
okay.
little water in them, you're set to go.
That doesn't affect the final painting, though, does it? I mean, the fact that they don't harden.
No,
Okay.
no, nope, doesn't affect the heart at all. Nothing, no. Same as it dries just like any other watercolor. Then it's just that I guess oxgall was used way back in time for making things more transparent, but the way you use it, the way I use it, and the way how to make wet streets is to float your pigment, make everything wet in the wet,
Yeah.
and it's very transparent. And I use a lot of colors. If you look at my palette, I'll show it again. Look at my palette. I have a lot of opaque colors in there. I have this
Yes.
color, which is lavender. I have this color over here, which is a composed green. I have a horizon blue. These all have colors pink. This pink and jaune number, I think it's jaune number 4 or 2, which is like pinks and flesh tone. So those all colors are all opaque. But the way you use them, if you use them very wet and you float them in your pigment into the water, it's very transparent. It just
Yeah.
happens to be more pastel. And I
Yeah.
think watercolors should be allowed to use pastel colors just like a pastel artist should be.
Yeah.
And
Why
so,
not?
because a lot of things have been happening with, there's a couple of watercolor societies that don't allow, and they want traditional transparent watercolor, which is all great. You just have to realize what that is. But there are a lot of artists nowadays that are using opaques, but not even so much opaques, but using pastel colors to enhance those colors in their scenes, and you can make them transparent.
Yeah.
I did one scene that had a lot of transparent colors, but it was transparent, and I submitted to the Transparent Watercolor Society, and it got accepted. And it's just those colors are pastel, but it was still transparent. It's just the way you apply it to the
Yeah.
painting
Yeah.
that it makes it transparent or thick.
So when you apply the pastel to the watercolor, I'm imagining you're relying on your experience with pastels in the first place. Do you pick up
No, it's
techniques
more
from
the
other
fact that it's like a
pastel
pastel
artists, or
color. It's more of the pastel color than it
yeah?
is about actually using pastels.
Ah, okay.
I just pastels are all pigment, solid pigment, and so there's like watercolor pencils that are just the same thing. You can it's just basically pigment,
Yeah.
and the pigment that I'm using as watercolor that looks like a pastel color, not so much that being a pastel. Um, it's just that pigment is has a little bit of white in it, so they make it more pastel like colored.
Okay.
But yeah, I also did pastels back in the day, but again, they were so messy for me that everything was about convenient, being able to do everything really conveniently on the train, actually, because I used to paint a train, and so it was very simple to take a palette with just watercolor and water. And that's how come I
That's
also just use if I
that's
use oils,
something.
I use the aqua oils because then I just have to use them with oil with
Yeah,
water
because
instead.
I would think watercolors would be messier to use on a train than pastels.
Yeah, but it's just a small little case, and so it's not that messy at all. And
Okay.
it cleans up with water and doesn't you don't have to worry about anything getting like acrylic. You got to worry
Yeah.
about getting on your clothes and drying, and it'll never come out afterwards. But watercolors is okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I give you a chance here to plug any upcoming shows you got coming up, any demonstrations, any other than ours. You can plug ours if you want, but we're
Yeah, no.
doing that right now.
I've been plugging.
But
All you got to do
yeah,
is go to my website. And again, my website is beckerart.net or davidrbecker.com. And you can go there, and I have everything I do. I mean, my the workshops that I'm going to be conducting. I'm actually this next week. I'm up in Green Bay for the Northeast Watercolor Society, Wisconsin Watercolor Society, Northeast Wisconsin Watercolor Society. That's up in Green Bay. I'll be doing a demonstration up there and a what you call it a workshop for 2 days. And like I said, this Saturday I'm in Oak Brook doing a workshop, or not doing a workshop, doing a demonstration, and that's going to be watercolor, just watercolor, plain watercolor on black and on white. I'm going to be doing probably two on that. And that's just on regular watercolor paper.
yeah.
And then the following week, after next week, I go to Ann Arbor, Michigan for the Michigan Watercolor Society. And I'll be doing a demonstration there also for their meeting. And then also a 2 day or 3 day workshop for them. A 3 day workshop or 2 days. I forget now. A workshop for them.
Okay.
And that's all in watercolor also.
All right. Well, we're going to be looking forward to seeing you and seeing this demonstration. And even though I'm not watercolorist or oil or acrylic or anything, I do more digital and photography. I'm still
Uh
looking
huh.
forward to this because I try to work in, the concepts into the digital work as well, So I look at all
Yeah.
the arts, and that's what I try to encourage every artist to do is, you may be watercolor, but why don't you look at someone doing pastel or what have you, because they have a technique or a style that, you may want to learn from. So,
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
I'm anxious. So,
It
all
should
right.
be fun. I like to do things that are a little bit different, just especially for demonstrations because you've probably seen 1,000 different same demonstrations by watercolorists. So I just bring in something a little bit different, just so that it makes it a little bit more exciting. They can see something
Yes.
different, use the same way, and I still do all those other things that those other watercolorists do, but I'll just bring in a different paper, a different,
Yeah.
you know, pigment, and so it's fun.
And that's what we're looking forward to. So
Sounds
we will
good.
see you later in October. And I think that's about it from my standpoint. So I want to thank you for spending some time with this interview and also for coming and doing the demo later. So
Sounds
thank you.
great. And again, it's when is it? So it's Monday. It's a Monday, right? Monday,
It's
the
our
17th,
meetings are always the third Monday, and I think it's
third
October
Monday. Okay.
17th. It's the third Monday at 7 o'clock at the state line of the banks in Grays Lake is where it's
Oh,
at.
thank you.
So
Thank you so much. I can't wait.
So we will be there around, someone will be there around 6 o'clock, so you can get there early and set up because we have some other stuff to take care of. But we're looking forward to seeing you.
All right. Well, thank you so
So,
much, Jeff, for doing this.
okay. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.